All right, here we are, another week. And like I mentioned at the end of last week's video, we are tackling this topic today about this whole notion or statement that you kind of hear a lot amongst people, this your truth versus my truth. Now, I got quite a few clips to show us today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll right into this first clip after the intro. And this first clip, it's Frank Turek from the same sermon message that I showed a clip of in last week's video, where he was talking about love does not mean approval. Well, this clip that I'm going to show us, he's explaining this thought of a self-defeating statement, or explaining, I should say, what a self-defeating statement is. Now, by a show of hands in the comments, you can use the raising your hand emoji or whatnot, or just say that, you didn't know, however you want to list it. But I wonder how many know what a self-defeating statement is. Because I'll be honest, before I saw this clip and kind of heard what it was, I didn't know what it was. And after he explained it, I was like, oh, well, of course, that makes sense. So some of you might be in that boat. Some of you might actually not know what it is until he explains it, and then you're like, oh, yes, of course. Now, some of you, on the other hand, might actually already know what it is. And for those of you that do, well, then just sit back and relax and watch this. But we'll dive into this whole topic and this whole notion of your truth versus my truth after this. I just want to set the stage a little bit and have you guys thinking about self-defeating statements. So with that said, cue the intro.
Get through this. What's a self-defeating statement? A self-defeating statement is a statement that violates the law of non-contradiction. A self-defeating statement would be to say something like, I can't speak a word in English. If I were to say I can't speak a word in English, what would you say? Hey, you just used English to say it. Or it'd be like saying my parents had no kids that lived. Or my brother is an only child. Or everything I say is a lie. Some of you will get that tomorrow. Or all generalizations are false. Some of you will never get that one, all right? These are known as self-defeating statements, and here's the thinking skill to identify self-defeating statements. You turn the claim on itself. You turn the claim on itself. So you ask the question, if somebody says there is no truth, you ask the question, is that okay? Now, you can amaze your friends with this. Why? Because you're not being unkind. You're simply asking questions. You're not saying, hey, you bonehead, that's self-defeating. What you're saying is a question. They say there's no truth. You say, is that true? And then they're going to be shocked. They're going to be stunned. Because they're going to realize what they just said is like saying I can't speak a word in English. All right, now this is...
Now, some of you are probably asking yourself, or just even wanting to ask me, besides the fact of you saying that you want to really just set this up to kind of lay the foundation or framework for where we're going to be talking about, why would you really show this clip of a self-defeating statement? Well, the short answer is because this whole notion of your truth versus my truth, that's a self-defeating statement. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So just bear with me. First, what I want to do is I want to show you a clip of this pastor from Fountain Springs Church, actually, Nicholas Heck. And he was talking about this analogy that he's heard from this person describing this way, like this whole your truth, my truth being a two-level house. So I'm going to let him explain this, and then we'll use this kind of as a springboard to kind of dive deeper into this conversation. So check this out.
Doubts. Well, Schaeffer talks about truth in the context of what he calls like a two-tiered universe. And he actually calls it like a two-story house. He says, like, imagine you have a house and you've got a first floor and a second floor. And he says, when we talk about objective truth, that first kind of truth, capital T truth that's true for everyone, he says that's the first floor of a house. It's foundational. Objective truth, the first story of a house is facts. It's true for everyone. It's not just true for the subject, right? So if I say 5 plus 5 equals 10, that's not just true for me, that's true for everyone here, right? Or if I say all snakes are reptiles, that's true. It's true for everyone. It's not a matter of opinion. But then he says, like, stacked on top of objective truth is a second story of truth. And this is what we call subjective truth. It's true for the person holding the belief or opinion. It's a little bit more like preferences. So I might say that, bacon is best eaten crispy, right? That's a personal opinion of mine. Well, that doesn't make it true for everyone. That's just true for me. Do you understand? Or if I say, the greatest color is purple, that's true for me, but that may not be true for you. There are these two types of truth.
Now, see, that analogy that Nicholas gave in that clip, this two-level house where first level is absolute truth, truth that is just true for everybody. And then the second level, that is your truth, just basically an opinion that you hold. Why do we call it truth then? Why do we call it your truth, my truth? This is, I think, the trap that a lot of people fall into, is they call it truth, even though it's your opinion. And so many people are like, well, that's your truth. So live in your truth. Just be there. That's them. So accept them because that's their truth. They want to be gay. It's okay. Let them be gay. That's their truth. Or they want to do this. That's okay. Just love them how they are because that's their truth. That's what they believe in. This is how it gets messy, is because too many people live in a society where people are coddled and they're not told actual truth. They're told, well, that's your truth and you can do what you want because it's your truth. It's true for you. And even though it's not true for me or true for this person or that person, but if it's true for you, then by golly, do you. No. There is truth and then there is opinion. And we all have to have this basis that we can live from, this absolute truth. And if we continue down this road of your truth versus my truth, it gets ugly, because where does it end? Where does your truth end? And where do you draw the line? If somebody believes something that is so incredibly criminal and horrible, all they have to say is, well, it's my truth. So you can't say anything because this is what I believe. So I'm going to practice this because this is what I believe. And everybody else might be horrified, but they're like, oh, well, I mean, how am I going to refute that? It gets crazy and ugly. And I'm going to show you an example of this, how this is kind of played out in a scenario. Candace Owens was on Nick Cannon's podcast, and they were talking about this. Nick was asking her why she has to be so abrasive sometimes and just telling people what the truth is, and why can't she just be a little bit more loving and just let people be. And so she kind of explained this and was telling him, because I'm not gonna, kind of coddle and solidify people's delusions and people's stuff that they want to believe in that's not actually true. And he wasn't understanding it or grasping it. And so she kind of gave him this example that he could not really refute. And so I want you to listen to this. Listen to the example that she gave. And that's just an example of how crazy it can get if we continue down this road. So check this out, and then I'm going to come back and unpack it a little bit. So let's look at this together.
I would disrespect you if I lied to you. I'm not going to call a man a woman. I'm not going to call a woman a man. I'm not going to say sorry for telling the
your
truth.
Beliefs.
It's not my belief. A woman cannot be a man, and a man cannot be a woman. It's not a belief.
But I'm saying in your perception of the world is different from someone else's perspective, because just as emphatic as you are, that you believe what you just said, there's someone that believes emphatically the opposite.
Okay, so what you're talking about is the idea that everything can be subjective and there's no such thing as truth. And let me tell you why that. But that's why it's either a yes or a no.
No, because we're either talking about feelings or facts.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I believe there is objective truth. Okay.
Okay.
A person that is born a man, okay, a person that is born with a penis, as we call it, okay, cannot ever grow up and give birth. Do we agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so there is such thing as an objective truth. I will not apologize for sharing objective truth. I'm not going to apologize for not saying because his feelings are hurt and do you see how I feel? Because
so you have no problem going throughout the world hurting people's feelings.
I have no problem going out the world. That's one way to pitch it. Telling people the truth so that they can better their lives. So they can live in reality and not the one, not the fantasy land that they're creating for their lives. But what if someone
believes that is a better life for them?
Okay, well, let's play it your way then. Let's do it the other way. There are a group of people who are now referring to themselves as minor attracted people.
Oh, I knew you was going. Can't go there.
Hey, but that's what they believe. They believe that they are in love and want to have sex with children. They believe that, Nick. They believe it. And are you going to apologize when you call them pedophiles? Are you going to apologize, Nick? Are you going to have them on your podcast?
It's a hell of
Don't
a point.
you understand how they feel on the inside when you say that they can't have sex with 8-year-olds?
That is a hell of a point.
It is. The slippery slope is not a fallacy. It is reality. We are living the slippery slope. So somebody's going to have to produce the wall. So there's going to be a lot of voices that need to be objective and tell people the truth. I'm very happy to be those.
That is a great point that Candace gave. Nick couldn't even refute that. I mean, think about that. Think about that. Nick's standpoint was, you don't mind going through life hurting people's feelings. And this is the problem, is so many of us are driven by feelings. We let feelings lead us. So much so that we can't even handle being told the truth. We can't even begin to comprehend the fact that we're wrong about something. We don't like being told that we're wrong. We don't like having to apologize if we've messed up. And so what we've done is we kind of try to separate ourselves from having to experience that. And we do that by saying your truth versus my truth. So you can believe what you want to believe, and I'll believe what I want to believe, and then we'll go about living our own lives, doing whatever we want to do. And the example or analogy that Candace gave, minor attracted person, pedophile, they try to change the term to a minor attracted person because they say pedophile is too derogatory, it's too demeaning. What about what the pedophile is actually doing? And you're worried about their feelings? This is the kind of slippery slope that using this term and not really coming to terms with the fact of there being actual truth, absolute truth, and your opinion, this is where we end up. People that are doing horrific criminal things now being reasoned away because, well, it's their truth. That's what they believe in. And that's wrong. It's this whole notion of your truth versus my truth, that in and of itself is a self-defeating statement. And Frank Turek really explains this really well. This is why I kicked this whole thing off with setting up what self-defeating statements look like. So Frank explains this, and he explains why this is a self-defeating statement. So I want you to check this next clip out, of him explaining it, and we'll kind of just discuss it afterwards.
Now, in our culture, it's more often said this way: there isn't the truth, only my truth. You know, you have your truth, I have my truth, you live your truth, I'll have my truth, we'll all get along. I mean, this sounds so right, doesn't it? It sounds like we all ought to believe this. It sounds so Oprah, doesn't it? There's just one problem with it. It's logically self-defeating, because if somebody says there isn't the truth, only my truth, you simply ask them, is that just your truth or the truth? In other words, is the statement on top just your truth? If it is, why should I believe it? You know, it's just your opinion, so why should I believe it? But if you're saying the statement on top is the truth, can everyone see the first half of that statement says there aren't any the truths? Can everyone see this is a the truth statement claiming there are no such thing as the truth statements? This defeats itself. Now, I know it's very unpopular to say this, but I have to say it anyway. There's no such thing as your truth. There's no such thing as my truth. There's just the truth. I mean, if you want to say you have your own truth, you might as well say, well, thank you. 5 people go, yeah, that's right. Hey, that's just true for you over there. I mean, if you want to say you have your own truth, you might as well say I have my own math. I mean, imagine if, say, if Pastor Shadrach said, hey, Frank, can you hang around here tomorrow at Chino Hills? We got a lot of work to do in the courtyard, and if you can help us out, yeah, look, I'll pay you $10 an hour. You just tell me how many hours you work. At the end of the day, I'll pay you. No, actually, Pastor Shadrach would never do this. He doesn't pay that much. But let's suppose I hung out for like 15 hours. I work dawn to dusk tomorrow, and I'm done. And he goes, okay, what do I owe you? Okay, see, let's see, I worked 15 hours times $10 an hour. You owe me $150,000. He's going to say, $150,000? No, I owe you $150,000. And I go, oh, no, you don't understand. I have my own math. He's going to say, you're crazy. There's not my math or your math. There's not my truth or your truth. There's just math. Now, I know some of your parents are going, oh, you don't see the kind of math my kid brings home. That ain't my math. No, I'm not talking about that, all right? Look, there's one answer to a math problem, not your answer or my answer. And there's one truth, not my truth or your truth. And if you want to say you have your own truth, you're actually uttering a self-defeating statement because you're claiming that is the truth. You with me? Now, sometimes it's said this way: it's true for you, but not for me. Well, Christianity may be true for you, but Buddhism's true for me. What do you say to that? This is also self-defeating. It's just a little bit more subtle. If somebody says it's true for you, but not for me, you need to ask, hey, is that true for everybody? Is true for you, but not for me, true for everybody? Because if true for you, but not for me, is true for everybody, then true for you, but not for me can't be true because it's true for everybody. Did I say that right? I know that can give you intellectual constipation if you think about it long enough. But that's because it's self-defeating. It violates the law of non-contradiction. It's doing exactly what it says can't be done.
Now, I hope that actually really brought things kind of back into focus. That how he explained this, really just asking questions. When you hear somebody say, you know, your truth versus my truth, or there is not the truth, there is just my truth, and then you ask questions that kind of expose how it's a self-defeating statement, I hope that really brought into focus why it matters that we discuss this, why this is important. Now, I want to close out really this whole conversation with one last clip from Jonathan Pokluda from Passion 2025. He was talking, and he had this moment where he was talking about truth, absolute truth. And I want to show this to you because I think this is hopefully going to help challenge us and really put the mirror up to our life. If we say this, if we live this way, if we've been practicing your truth versus my truth, hopefully this will have us take some inventory about our life and what we've been doing. So with that said, let's check this last clip out.
with the belt of truth buckled around your waist. That's the first one, right? The belt of truth. Isaiah 26:8, a verse we've been talking about is that we're walking in the truth. What does it look like for you to be positioned in the truth? You can't just like figuratively put this belt on. So what does it look like that your whole life, that your whole being is positioned in truth? Well, one thing, in the same way that Tyler held that $100 bill up to the light, it's like you're walking in the light. You don't have any secrets. That's true freedom. I don't care who knows what. But the second thing it means is that there's absolute truth. Your generation is like, well, there's your truth, and there's my truth, and there's our truth, and that's cool that works for you. No, there's absolute truth. There's a God, the creator of the heavens and the earth, and he made you in his image. And he desires a relationship with you, and so he's gone to great lengths to have that relationship with you. And that has tremendous implications for every single thing that you do in your life, that you would walk in that truth. And so you share the truth, and you think, I don't want to upset someone. I don't want to hurt their feelings. It's really unloving to let someone believe a lie. It's really unloving. So we got to reframe, like, what is love and what isn't love? Because here's what I've learned in studying your generation is that most of you aren't on a truth journey. You're on a happiness journey. It's like, I'm looking for what's going to make me happy. And if I can believe a lie, but it makes me happy, then I'll choose the lie over the truth. Jesus says, then you'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. What I would tell you is, if you know the truth, but the truth makes you really unhappy, it's better to know the truth and be unhappy. But the good news is that the truth won't make you unhappy. It will give you purpose. It will give you an understanding of how to live. And
Think about that. Think about what he said there. He said, most of us are not on a truth journey, but a happiness journey. So you're willing to believe a lie as long as it makes you happy. And I wonder if you're truly honest with yourself. Have you been doing that? Have you been on a happiness journey? Have you been living a lie simply because it makes you happy? And you don't really want to confront or have to deal with the truth, because the truth would shake things up and require you to put in some work and make some changes. And you're comfortable where you're at, so you continue living a lie. I hope we've really kind of gotten the bigger picture, why it's important to understand that there is absolute truth, there is just the truth, and then there is your opinion. There's not my truth and your truth, or there's no such thing as the truth and it's just my truth and you just living in my truth. That is inaccurate, that is false, and we've got to stop saying it. And when we encounter people that say it around us, we have to set them straight, let them know. It might be unpleasant for them to hear. They might reject it. They might not want to be friends with you anymore, or might not want to even talk to you anymore. But you plant the seed, and there's going to be other people that are going to come along and keep planting seeds until their heart is softened and it'll actually grow, and they'll start to understand really why, and hopefully change their mindset and their belief. But we got to start somewhere. We got to start somewhere. So thank you guys so much for watching this week, and I hope this really helped refocus our thinking that we shouldn't really be saying this. We should be careful when we encounter other people that say this because of how dangerous it can get. So thank you guys so much for watching this week. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And stay safe, and I'll see you all next week.